Beruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Kuf Mem Gimel Amud Beis. At the very top, the new parak. Says the Mishnah, Chavi shenishbara matzilin heimeno mozon shalosh sudos. If a wine barrel breaks on Shabbos, one is only permitted to save the amount of 3 su'udos. Here the sages were concerned that if a person were being enabled to then save as much as he wants from this barrel, he's liable to then carry other kelim from the Reshus HaRabim and be over the Malach of Hoitzah. So therefore they limited to 3 sudos. We saw this halacha also in regards to the 16th parak when there was a fire on Shabbos Chalila. A person were concerned that may, in the state of Behala, put out the fire. And therefore the sages said, we'll permit him to take 3 su'udos, but not more than that, because then he might go ahead and then extinguish the flame, which would be over a malacha of mechabe on Shabbos. That which we're saying 3 su'udos, over there as well as over here, is talking about that it's the beginning, let's say, of Shabbos, and you didn't yet eat the first Suda. But let's say it was in the morning, before you ate the second Suda, then you could only save up to 2 su'udos. The Mishnah goes on to say, V'oimer la'acherim, bo v'hatzilu lochem. And you can tell other people, come and save wine for yourselves. That also means only up to 3 sudos for each person. Providing that you don't take a sponge and sponge the wine, because then you'll be over an Isser D'Rabbanan, because perhaps you will then be soichet that sponge. Says the Mishnah Vayter, this now goes into the inyan of schita. Schita is really a malacha midiaraisa of mefarek, which is a tolda of dosh. Dosh is threshing. When we take out, mefarek means taking out the berries, let's say, from the kernel. And so too over here, if a person has, for example, olives, and he wants to take out the shemen, by squeezing that, he's then being mefarek the mashke of the oil from the fruit, from the olive. Now this is all true when it comes to taking the, what we're saying, the mashke from the oichel, then it's a malach of mefarek. However, if it's not something that is typically squeezed, and therefore the essence of that fruit is not its juice, then it's not begeder a mashke. It's still considered to be part of the fruit, whereby you're taking oichel from oichel, and that juice is only called zeya ba'alma, whereby it's not considered to be a malach of mefarik. Says the Mishnah, ein soichatin es hapeiros lohoitzi mehen mashkin. One cannot squeeze peiros to then take out their juice. For example, like we said in the olive, by squeezing out the shemen from the olive, he'll be over the malacha diaraisa of mefarik. The Mishnah continues, V'im yotzu ma'atzmon asurin. Even if they already oozed out, you already have some shemen that is on next to this olive, that has oozed out from the olive, even that shemen, the Mishnah says, is prohibited. Because the sages were concerned that if indeed you'd be able to then use that shemen, you may then go ahead and squeeze out the olive to get more shemen. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im lo oichlon hayotze mehen muter. If he bought it to then eat, so then he can go ahead and use that oozed out juice. V'im lemashkan hayotze mehen also. But if he bought that fruit for its juice, so then that oozed out juice would be prohibited. And here Rabbi Yehuda is saying the distinction is because if you bought that fruit for eating, even though there's some juice that is squeezed out, that is oozed out, there's not a concern that a person may go ahead and squeeze that fruit because he bought it for oichel. But on the other hand, if he bought it for its mashke, and therefore he now sees oozed out juice, then he's liable to then squeeze it out. So therefore the Chachamim say that it's usher to get use from that oozed out juice. Chalois devash sheriskin me'erev Shabbos. The Mishnah says if you have a honeycomb that was chopped before Shabbos, by chopping it on Shabbos, that would be again a malacha of mefarek. But if you have over here that which was chopped before Shabbos, the the Mishnah goes on to say, V'yotzu me'atzman asurim. Tanakama says, and if you have then the oil that then oozed out from that which you chopped before Shabbos, then it's also because you might go ahead and squeeze out the rest of the honey from that honeycomb on Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer Matir. Rabbi Eliezer says it's mutter because since when it comes to a honeycomb, when it's already chopped, granted, by squeezing out, it may go out quickly, but it's already going to be oozed out. It's already going to then come out on its own once it's already chopped. So there's no concern that a person may go ahead and squeeze it out on Shabbos. Says the Gemara Tana, Lo yispoig beyayin v'lo yitpach bashemen. A person, the Brisa says, cannot soifeg, he cannot sponge out some of the wine, let's say, from this broken chavis. V'lo yitpach, and he cannot wet with shemen. Let's say the chavis was filled with oil. Shelo yaseh kederech sheyeh oiseh bechol. Because here it states that a person would be doing an Isser D'Rabban of Udin Nechol. So in regards to the Yispoig, we already explained that a person can't go ahead and be Soifeg Yayin because Shema Yischoit. Maybe he'll go ahead and squeeze it out. So therefore the Chamim answered that. So that which it says over here, Uvdin Nechol, is going on the second statement. When it says you cannot wet the Shemen, why cannot wet the Shemen? Because then you might be doing an Uvdin Dechol. Or they ask you because is it Uvdin Dechol? The Mishnah goes on, the Brisa goes on to say, another Brisa, Tanu Rabbanon, Nispazru loy peiros bechotzer. If a person had peiros that scattered about in the chotzer, Malaket al yad v'oichel. He shall then gather one at a time and then eat it, so that's not going to be then used to be stored away. Aval loy letoich hasav v'lo toich hakupa, shelo yaseh kederech shehu oiseh bechol. But he cannot go ahead and put them in a basket, because after all, if he does that, then it's looking he's storing it for the week, and then it will be an Isser of Uvdin Dechol. The Chacham were concerned that that's a derech that a person will do the malach of Ma'amir with. So therefore they answered this here as well. The Mishnah is quoted as Ein Soichin es HaPeiros. One cannot squeeze the Peiros, but the Gemara is really going on the Hemshech of the Mishnah. It states that even after it was squeezed out, meaning it wasn't even squeezed, it was just oozed out, some of the juice, then there's a machloikis, whether you can have pleasure, where can you enjoy, you can use the juice that was squeezed out, that was oozed out. Says the Gemara, Rav Yehuda Mar Shmuel, Rav Yehuda says the name is Shmuel. Moide haya Rabbi Yehuda lachachomim bezeisim va'anovim. When it comes to grapes and to olives, even Rabbi Yehuda agrees to the Chachomim. And what does that mean to agree? Because we said in the Mishnah that Rabbi Yehuda is cholek on the Chachamim. It depends on what you then bought that for. If you bought the pre for oichel, then the oozed out juice is permissible. It's only if you bought it for its mashke, then it would be prohibited. Here the Gemara is saying b'shem Shmuel that Rabbi Yehuda would agree by zeisim va'anovim. If you bought it, even if you bought it for oichel, then Rabbi Yehuda would agree that it's aser. The oozed out juice is aser, because he would agree that you might come to then squeeze out the oil from the olive or the grape juice from the grape, because that's the typical usage of grapes and olives, even though you yourself bought it for oichel. My time, the Gemara explains now, Kivan de l'schita ninhu, since grapes and olives are classically used for its squeezing out, Yahiv daite, therefore, once he has oozed out juice, he's liable to then use that olive and that grape for its juice by squeezing it out. V'ulo marav, and Ula said in the name of Rav, Choluk haya Rabbi Yehuda af bezeiz va'anovim. Rabbi Yehuda is cholik even in regards to zeisim va'anovim. So that which he stated in the Mishnah is including in zeisim va'anovim. Again, if he bought the zeisim va'anovim for oichel and there's oozed out juice on Shabbos, then it's permissible. But if he bought it from mashke, only then is it osir. Rabbi Yochanan Amar halacha Rabbi Yehuda b'shar peiros. Rabbi Yochanan says the halacha like is Rabbi Yehuda in regards to other payros, other than Zeisim va'anovim. This would be this distinction. Again, if you bought it for oichel and there's juice, you can go ahead and use it, but if you bought it for mashka, then you cannot. Ve'ein halach Rabbi Yehuda ve'zeisim va'anovim. But the halach is not like Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yochanan, gabi zeisim va'anovim. So it means that he's understanding that they are arguing in zeisim va'anovim, and the halach is like the chachamim in zeisim va'anovim. That means to say that even if it's bought for oichel, still it's going to be prohibited because the classic usage for zeisim va'anovim is to squeeze it out, and that's the concern over here as well. Omar Rabbi Yehuda, Omar Shmuel, Moida haya Rabbi Yehuda lechachamim bezeisim va'anovim. Here, Rabbi Yehuda, according to Rabbi Yehuda, name is Shmuel now, he's going to say that Rabbi Yehuda agrees with the Chachamim in regards to Zeisim va'anovim. Umoidim Chachamim Rabbi Yehuda b'shar peiros. And the Chacham agreed to Rabbi Yehuda b'shar peiros. In regards to shar peiros, that even the Chacham will say that if you bought it for oichel, then it's mutter to use the oozed out juice. Ask the Gemara if indeed the Chacham are moided to Rabbi Yehuda in shar peiros, and Rabbi Yehuda is moided to the Chacham in Zeisim va'anovim. So what is the machlokes? Omar Rabbi Yirmiyahu Rabbi Abba elabamai pligi. What's their machlokes then? Omar le Rabbi Abba said to Rabbi Yirmiyahu lechi tishkach. Analyze the situation and you'll come to a conclusion what these pairs are referring to. Omar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchok mistabra betutim v'rimonim pligi. It's mistaber. They're arguing with tutim, with strawberries and rimonim and pomegranates. The tiny, because this is the following brayso: Zeisim shemoshach mehen shemen va'anovim shemoshach mehen yayin. Olives that had its shemen that went out and oozed out from it, and the juice that oozed out from the grapes. V'hichnisen bein la'oichel bein lamashkin hayot mehen oser. And if you go ahead and then you bought them either for oichel or you bought them for their mashke, they're going to be oser. Tutim shemoshach mehen mayim v'rimonim shemoshach mehen yayin. The tutim that oozed out, it's water, but it's referring to its juice, and the rimon that oozed out its juice, referring to over here as yayin, because of its sourness that's doime to yayin. Hichnisin oil oichlon, if they bought the tutim and rimonim for the food to be eaten, hayotze mehen mutter, then that juice that was oozed out is going to be mutter. Lamashkin ulastam hayotze mehen oser div Rabbi Yehuda. But if it was bought for its juice, lamashke, or he did not buy it one way or the other, it was stam, then Rabbi Yehuda says it would be oser. Whereas the Chachamim say it makes no distinction. They make no distinction whether it's for oichel or for mashkin. The tutim, the rimonim are going to be aser, that juice that oozed out. Take a look at Rashi. Dibra hamaschil v'chachamim oimrim v'chulei. Almost parallel to where we read. Rashi asked the following question: V'ho denoket Rav Nachman lishna de mistabro. Here, Rav Nachman said it's mistaber that their machlokes between the Chacham and Rabbi Yehuda is in tutim v'rimonim. Then he brings a brisa, but the brisa seems to say explicitly that they're arguing on tutim v'rimonim. So ask Rashi, why is it that he didn't say, Rav Nachman, that it's explicit that there's a machlokes in tutim v'rimonim? Why do you only say it's mistaber? Answers Rashi, mishum di'ika lemeimar. Pligi betutim v'rimonim v'huadin l'shar peiros, because you could say that they're not only arguing on tutim v'rimonim, but the Chacham would say even by shar peiros that it's going to be aser even if you bought those peiros for its oichel. And why did the Brisa say it in this way? Just to give you the strength of Rabbi Yehuda that even in regards to tutim v'rimonim, that if you bought it for oichel, then it's going to be mutter. And if you're going to then bring the brisa that's later on, The Shamina and Mina, the Moed Chacham, the Rabbi Yehuda b'Shar Peiros, which does seem to imply that the Chachamim do agree with Rabbi Yehuda in regard to Shar Peiros, that if it's bought for Oichel, then it's going to be mutter. La behed Yeshamin law, but it's not explicit. The Ikal Lemeim Rabbi Yehuda hu kedoichinan la'alo, because you can say that they're arguing even in that case against Rabbi Yehuda in Shar Peiros as well. So since it's not Mukhrach over there, here too, Rav Nachman just said it's mistaber that their machloikis is in regards to tutim very moinim.